on government officials insist that this an
Assalamu alaikum. This is Sisa Mira in podcast with me, Asma Sitole. On today's episode, we're going to be delving into the agricultural sector. We've seen agri-tech taking shape in this industry as well. However, to gain more insights, I'll be joined by Dr. Samantha Ainembabazi, who's a co-founder of Freza Nanotech. Dr. Samantha, shukran for joining us. Do you mind introducing yourself to my viewers and listeners?
I'm Dr. Ainembabazi Samantha. I'm Ugandan, born and raised in Uganda, which is in Africa. I also practice in Uganda. Um, I'm also an innovator, like you mentioned. I'm the co-founder and COO for Freza Nanotech, which is an agtech innovation company that provides, I think we shall go deeper into it, but it provides solutions for smallholder farmers to preserve their fruits and vegetables longer, giving them a longer shelf life. I'm also a CMO for a supermarket chain in Uganda, Kampala, called S&S Enterprises. And I also recently joined a project called Project Honor, which is basically Honor AI, a company that deals with using AI to enable disabled people to also be able to access, social media and, have access to the internet in a tailored manner. Um, yes, so I I'm wearing so many hats,
I can
but
tell.
I'm very excited for the work that I get to do with each and every one of the projects or companies that I'm working with or I'm working for. So yeah, I'm
Yes.
quite excited. Yes.
First and foremost, what does Freza mean?
Freza is basically means freshness. So we just wanted to keep fruits and vegetables fresh longer because that's where the spoilage is. A large percentage of spoilage within agriculture comes from fresh produce like tomatoes, like mangoes, especially climacteric fruits, the ones that ripen off the tree. So we find these fruits and vegetables getting bad very quickly. And, there's this common saying, in Africa about making. Recently, I had a conversation with colleagues of mine that were talking about how they no longer want to make agriculture sexy, but they want to make it profitable for young people to be a
Oh,
part of that and kind of agriculture that makes sense, that makes money. And I agree, because that's the reason why we started Freza in the very first place, is that okay, yes, you are growing, or you fruits and
mhm.
vegetables, you're growing your maize, it could be dry produce, you're rearing your
Yes.
animals, but like what makes it profitable, what makes it make financial sense? Of course, there's so many ways about it, all these fintech startups and all these other ways, but for us, our take
Yes.
on it was to reduce spoilage. We really wanted to reduce spoilage because we feel like if we reduce spoilage, then we increase profitability that way. If you, out of like 10 tomatoes, you lose 7 and you can only sell 3, that does not make sense financially. Yeah,
It
so
doesn't.
if you can keep about 80% of your produce till like the 6th market day or till the 7th market day, that would be really good and that would be really profitable. And when you interact with most of these farmers and vendors, it will shock you that they don't even want an extension of like a month, a week, sorry, a month or 2 weeks. They just want an extension of like a few more days, up to a week. That's all they need. They're like, if it can just go to an extended 2 days, an extended 3 days, it will shock you how little they just want. But we saw the opportunity to provide even up to 30 days. So once we saw that need and that opportunity, we went for it.
Do you mind explaining to us of what does nanotech mean?
Is a nanotechnology based non-toxic preservation solution that extends shelf life of fruits and vegetables for an extended 30 days. We have two products now. We have one that extends for 30 days and one that goes up to 60 days. And not all fruits and vegetables can go up to 60 days. They won't still be, they'll not be healthy. So we almost like pick and choose what we want to push to 60 days, what we should push to 30 days based off of research. So basically, we extract we extract starch from different plants like maize, like cassava, and we
Mhm.
have other things that we add to it. So
Yeah.
we extract that starch because it already has existing enzymes. I mean, sorry,
Mhm.
inhibitors to enzymes. And so when we extract all that, we add it to different other components, ascorbic acid, zane, and we put all these things together and come up with a formulation that will inhibit enzymatic processes within fruits and vegetables. So yeah, so nanotechnology has like the smallest possible entities, which are nanos, right? Nanoparticles. And we see it already used in fields like medicine. We see it used in fields like construction. You have things like nanobots being played around with, engineering as well. So for us, we basically use those nanoparticles throughout like our extraction of inhibitors, right? And we use an electrospinner machine to formulate those nanofibers that has high voltage, and so we're able to come up with that formulation that way. And yes, that's basically what Freza is all about.
The agricultural sector is divided in so many sectors. And do you mind briefly taking us through of how will Freza Nanotech, play a role in conventional farming, whereby, there's mass production and is mostly driven by profits. And also, that GMOs and pesticides are being used in this regard. And also, how will it play a role in also traditional farming, or one will call organic farming?
I think Freza is just the beginning of where agriculture is heading to, which is basically being more conservational. Yeah, we're having more conservational agriculture that thinks about the future
All
versus
right.
the now, right? So,
Mhm.
like I mentioned, it's non-toxic, so it puts into consideration the effect of using a certain kind of spray or the effect of using a certain kind of preservative. What is the effect to the human body long term? What is its effect to the environment long term, right?
Yeah.
So Freza is the kind of innovation that puts that into consideration and tries to keep that at maximum. So we know that like with time, because Freza is not it's not a fertilizer. It
All
does
right.
not do anything. It does not have any role with like soil health, but it's a preservative for crops that are already off the plant, right? So
Mhm.
if you've harvested your crops and your fruits or your vegetables,
Yeah.
now you want to keep them longer. Now you want them to reach market or reach a farther market or whatever. And so for us, that is where Freza is at. But I've seen and met people that are dealing in biotech, that is a preservative in biotechnology. People are now using different kinds of technology to preserve the environment as they're farming or as they're
Yeah.
carrying out agricultural practices. So we're having nanotech in play, we're having biotech in play. We're seeing all these innovative processes come to execute basically what we know as conservation agriculture. So I'm really excited to see what the future has.
You are a woman of so many hats. Do you mind taking us through of what inspired this maneuver that you've taken from, being in healthcare and now also finding yourself contributing positively into the agricultural sector?
I like I mentioned earlier, we had already been innovating in the medical field, and we saw the opportunity to also bring that kind of innovation into agriculture because there was a lot of coincidences. Like there was a lot of things that were very similar. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of uh, lines were crossing between medicine and agriculture. But I'd say for me, where it became personal was especially along the innovation journey, and why I decided that no, like this solution must come to life and we must push it as far as we can push it, is the fact that whenever we interact with these different farming communities, we realized that they put in a lot of work, but the very little that they get from that work, they have to raise children, they have to treat their children when their children fall sick, they have to build houses, they have to build homes, they have to do all these things that people who are earning, like large players in the space, are also have to do, right? And so these small meager profits that they get from agriculture are very, they carry a lot of weight. They have to do a lot of things. And it's funny because in Uganda, so many people are farmers. Your uncle is a farmer. People around you are farmers. Like so many people are doing farming. And so at the end of the day, we thought to ourselves, like there has to be a way we can also play a part in making that agriculture make sense. How does it make sense? How do these people get a large enough profit from agriculture? And a lot of it leads to loss. I mean, leads back to loss after harvest. So yes, some people lose within harvest. Within the process of growing, right? So many things can happen, like climate changes and all these things can play a role, but like the large percentage is after the aftermath of growing and then harvesting. Then what, right? Many of them can't go even to larger market spaces, like they can't push further from the small town or the small village that they're growing their fruits from, to go and look for further markets that could be more profitable. So they
Yeah.
can't do that because within a few days it's going to go bad. They even have to sell it off cheaply. They have to make sure that it's just off the shelf almost immediately. So because of that, that's where for me personally, I felt like no, like there has to be a way to make more money. And to make more money, it has to be a practical solution, and that solution was to basically give it a longer shelf life, keep it fresh longer, and when as a farmer, like if your produce is good, then people from factories start talking to you, people who are food processors start talking to you, because they need supply, because you're going to bring it and you're going to bring it fresh, right? And people from restaurants start talking to you. I mean, your market really extends from back home to like a number of people. So for me personally, that's where I saw the potential, like way to solve a problem within the community. For me, that was it. Like, because if people are largely predominantly agriculture, then at least the agriculture has to make sense. And if that's the source of living for most people, then it has to be enough to actually, take these children to school, provide medical care and all these things for these children and for these people generally. Yeah.
I would like to congratulate you on the recognition that you received last year by the Dubai Future Foundation, where you were awarded prototypes for humanity. And what did it mean for you and also for your organization? And what impact did it have after you receiving the award?
Well, it was really a life-changing opportunity, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because yeah, we really got the exposure that we needed at that point to push us even further. Because
Mhm.
different labs wanted to know what are we doing, different people wanted to know what like how can we work with you people, especially back home, because we had been silent even in our own home country for a while. Not very
Yeah.
many people knew about Freza Nanotech,
Mhm.
and when we got the exposure from prototypes of humanity, now we got to a bigger stage and were awarded by on a bigger stage. So that almost propelled us by far, because now people were reaching out to us. knowing how can we play a role, how can we benefit. And also we got a number of people who also wanted that solution in their countries. So it helped us to like now start thinking about what's the next step for Freza. How do we move into other countries? How do we consolidate the work that we're doing back home? But also how do we see how we move into other other regions, other kind of places that have similar maybe fruits that we grow, even those that have different kinds of fruits that are different from the ones that we grow in Uganda. It's an opportunity for us, really. So basically opportunity, 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 and exposure. That's what Protege for Humanity did for us. But also being in Dubai helped us to open our minds, because personally, being there exposed me to people that also have a lot of interesting innovations and a lot of synergies. I could see a lot of synergies, a lot of potential synergies, and that was really something, because you see people who are doing work that can provide a raw material, for Freza, or Freza can also be a part of their work. So there was just a lot of synergies, a lot of good connections that you could see, and learning from young people like you is just the best thing.
I remember when I met you guys. I remember there were four of you, and you told me what you were here for, and you, and even you mentioning that you won an award for Prototypes for Humanity. That was very inspiring, and being in Dubai and having the platform, to showcase your work and to showcase what you've been, working on. It's very inspiring because I realized that it's a country that recognizes and sees talent, and whenever it sees talent, it nurtures it. With you mentioning that Freza Nanotech, it prolongs the shelf life of fresh produce, and we can say that it's very sustainable, and we can say that it also mitigates, food waste and food security as well. Because like if you have this kind of invention or innovation, I know it will definitely play a role, most especially in our own homes as well, not only for the farmers but also for us, because food waste and food security is the biggest challenge that we're going to be facing, most especially with regards to the recent climate change, or not the recent actually. Climate change has been happening for quite some time now. However, how sustainable is this Freza Nanotech?
Our role in the issue of food security is to curb the issue of spoilage. So we know like so many farmers are growing crops in season, and then when the time comes, everyone has harvest. Okay, most people have harvest, and you find that the food is a lot, but within a very short time, because then it gets bad. Then it gets bad, and then there comes a time where there's no food at all, right? For food security, for us, we just basically give the opportunity to keep that food longer. Now, the key thing with Freza is that we are currently working with fresh produce, but of course we do want to go into dry produce, right? And we know that dry produce is the one that really pushes like for a longer time. If you're looking at storage for years, that is dry produce for you. You can store food up to a year, right?
Yeah.
So, and there are already solutions that are doing this. I've heard of a company called Silo Africa. They really look at like how do they preserve dry food for a long time in these silos, and their silos are really tailored to keep it well, to keep it just keep it as viable as possible for a long time. So basically curbing spoilage is the way to go about food security. There are many other ways, of course, growing more food, helping farmers to have sustainable ways of growing food, and them being able to afford machinery, afford all the things that, increase their level of, but their degree of production. But like when that food is produced, how do we preserve it? How do we keep it fresh? How do we keep it safe for human consumption? And that's where Freza comes in. The aftermath of growing food. That's where Freza plays a role.
For those of us who living in a developed country, we get first-hand fresh produce, and from all over the world. You can think of anything you want to eat, you're going to get it. So, and we don't feel, the effects of global warming. We don't feel the effects of food security and also your climate change. We are only hit in the pockets. But then when we are hit in the pockets because of the prices will skyrocket, because of the farmers have to uh, face the effects of climate change, and some of them, small scale farmers have to adapt into these new technologies of agri-tech and innovations within this sector. And then that means that you know our food cost is going to go up. Looking at food security and food waste and sustainability in another angle, and you focusing your attention to those remote, areas in underdeveloping countries. Those are the people who are hit the most, because now they can't harvest on their fields because of probably there's too much drought, or probably the soil is eroded by water, by too much water, by too much rain, one will say. And then those are the ones who are hit on a daily basis, because they can't say, I'm going to feed my family by harvesting, by having my fresh produce. So we must look into it as something that we need to tackle and mitigate, and also um, help and assist. We must say that farmers are the ones who are hit the most, because they have to maintain the daily operations regardless of what challenges they're facing. So for us to sometimes look into options of being sustainable, like having our own produce as well in our own gardens, it'll also offload a bit of weight on their shoulders. I think food is it's what is consumed by everybody, and nutrition is most crucial, most especially in this day and age. Do you mind taking us through of how does Freza Nanotech work?
So Freza has a different categories of products. Like, we came up with different product lines. We started with a sachet. I'll just show you how a sachet looks like. This is how we package um, the Freza. We have this kind of bag and this kind of packet as well. So these are what we call the Freza packets. But within the Freza packets, we have Freza sachets. So this is the sachet. Just give me a moment. This is a sachet. This is how the sachet looks like. So you put this sachet in a basket. I don't know, can you see? Yeah. We
Yeah,
put this
we do.
sachet in a basket full of fruits and vegetables. So you just place it in like a basket of bananas or a basket of tomatoes, just place it in. So it will sublime. You don't have to pour it, you don't have to cut it open, you don't have to tear it. The nature of this material is porous, so the formulation does sublime out and then it settles on the membranes of the fruits and vegetables, and then it coats them. And the reason why we have zipper bags is because we don't want the formulation to sublime before use. So we put the sachets in zipper bags. So when you open, you pick it out, but then you seal it back because there's still other sachets in. So it will just sublime and coat the membranes. There's no need for spraying or pouring, or no, that's different, right? Our formulation works differently like that. Now we have the Freza bags. I don't know if you can see the Freza bags. We have the Freza bags. So we have two categories of these Freza bags. They're those that we don't coat with formulation. So we just use them specifically for just branding and marketing purposes. And then there are those we coat with formulation. So if it has formulation, if it's coated with formulation, we mention it. So like you see, this one, it's not coated with formulation, so it's not mentioned here that it has formulation. So when it's coated with formulation, we do specify, and we note it down and say, oh, coated with formulation. So if it's coated with formulation, it works the same way. The formulation will settle on the membranes of the fruits or vegetables that you put in the bag, and then yeah, preserves them like that. We also have a new product that's coming on that's coming in play. It's called the Freza pods. So the Freza pods, you can check them out on our website. I don't have any here with me, but these pods basically they enable us have different characters of our formulation in play. So with the sachets, we only have an inhibitor, right? So it's a subliming agent. That's the nature of the formulation. But we realize that there's certain to a certain degree we want to also absorb moisture. So with the pods, it allows us to have both an inhibitor with a subliming agent, right? As well as an absorbent. So you have different kinds of characteristic agents or like for of the formulation within a pod. So it's segment like it allows them to be in segments. So that's how our different products work. So the key thing is that our product does not need a lot of tampering with. You don't have to spray it, you don't have to pour it. You just have to let it play out. So that's basically what Freza is all about.
Throughout our conversation, we've been mentioning farmers quite a lot. And I would like to know, are farmers only your target market for this innovation?
Okay, farmers. I mentioned farmers a lot, smallholder farmers, because they were our primary market.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the solution was targeted to them. Even
Yeah.
when you look at the effectiveness and the affordability, it was really targeted to like how do we look at a person who is growing this number of kgs of is harvesting this number of kgs of, let me say, tomatoes, and how can the solution be cost effective and cost friendly to them. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why that was our primary market. But we've been seeing the market space evolve from household use right up till supermarkets, right up till exporters, importers. So we also see the possibility of importation and exportation of fruits and vegetables like just evolving further, right? We also see a possibility of, we've been getting a lot of people that actually want to just use it at home also order for it. So we've seen a lot of diversity in our market because for example, in Africa, back home in Uganda, I'm not going to speak for the whole of Africa, but in Uganda, in most of the regions, the farmer is usually the vendor. So there's really no difference between the farmer and the vendor. Very few times is the vendor so completely different from the farmer, especially in the remote areas, because in the city, the farmers will grow in the remote areas and then send to vendors who are usually even their relatives and like people they know who are selling the produce for them because the farmer really trusts either themselves or someone they know to sell their produce. But like in the remote areas far away from the city, you find that the farmer and the vendor are really the same person. So
Yeah, yeah.
vendors is also part of our market space. But like we've seen people from restaurant chains and supermarket chains reach out to us and ask us like, does this really work? Because then it will also be increasing profit for them because if they buy in bulk and they're able to store it without it getting bad, then that's a win for them as well. So yeah, so we've seen the market space really evolve along the value chain from the person who grows the food to the person who uses it in different ways, whether they are reselling it in the supermarket or um, eating it at home. We've
Mhm.
really seen the value chain change for us, the market space change for us. Yeah.
I believe that I'll be using Freza Nanotech because I'm also responsible to what is happening in my household. I'm responsible for food waste. I'm responsible to be sustainable. So to even have an opportunity or to even take a further step to have my own garden and to be using such innovations that are coming up, I'm also contributing positively to mitigate food waste in this instance. Where can one find a Freza Nanotech?
But the way people can access Freza is that we have a website online. We just search Freza Nanotech. We have an e-commerce website. So you just go in and put frezananotech.com or www.frezananotech.com, and then you're able to shop with us on our e-commerce website. But then we also look to join platforms like yours, for example. Like if we're able to join platforms like yours and just like be a part of all those platforms, we're open to that. And then also on Instagram, we have our numbers on there. So like even if people call us directly or WhatsApp us directly, they can still get access to a product. Yeah.
What advice would you give to inspiring farmer who wants to enter this sector of agriculture? And with regards to they have to integrate so many things like agri-tech innovations into the daily business operations. So, what challenges will they be looking at, and what advice would you give to them?
I'd say for the ones who are innovating, for the innovators, I'd say a lot of just visit the farms first, right? Because for us as Freza, actually, we didn't do that. So there was a big gap between the person we were creating the solution for and the solution. And so the more we started interacting with these people, the more we continued. When we decided to actually go on ground, touch grass, we realized that we could tweak our solution to just better fit the farmer. And so I'd say if you're going to innovate and you have a great idea for farmers, a great idea for agriculture in general, interact with the market first. And also, the farmer is not always going to be your market. Your market could be a completely different entity. It could be NGOs that are interested in farmers, that are interested in farming, and they're the ones who can afford your solution, then provide it for the farmers. So you don't always have to just be biased about the solution being strictly, the customer being the farmer. The solution could be for the farmer, but the customer doesn't always have to be the farmer. So keep your mind open towards what you're creating, because many times, because we're creating for smallholder farmers, we like to limit something to be completely like cheap, but at the end of the day, the quality dies, right? So if you feel like you can't compromise quality over price, then just keep your mind open to maybe having a different customer, but the solution could still be for the smallholder farmer. Go ahead and create. I mean, it's better to fail quickly and then understand what should I then do, right? And also learn from people who are ahead of you. Because one thing I realized about the agricultural space, the ag tech space, is that many of us are creating similar solutions, and also many of us are creating solutions that can merge into other people's solutions. So that space is very, very small and very, very niche. So at the end of the day, it's just important to just learn from each other, and also, like, if there are opportunities to collaborate, take those opportunities, because at the end of the day, it's impact. And if you have opportunity to collaborate to create impact, then just take that opportunity. Yeah.
From here at Sisamira Inc., we say shukran.